This past weekend, I played my first tournament of 2025, a one-round C tier. It's actually at Anheuser-Busch, their manufacturing plant in Fort Collins, Colorado. Luckily, 3 others signed up as well, so I was able to play on an awesome card with Brian, Tegan, and Lucas. And I was actually pretty nervous coming into this round. Since I don't have any footage from this tournament, I went out to a course today called West Creek Disc Golf Course. It's typically a par 56 or 57, but if you look at all the tee signs, the course pars are 63. So I wanted to see if I could shoot 20 under par, which I think would be around 13 under on the normal layout, even though there are some 470 to 490 foot holes. So I'm gonna overlay all that footage, and this will just kind of be a talking video if you're interested in listening, and that way you can also see kind of what a general practice round looks like for me, not talking to the camera, just trying to really focus on some things. That being said, let's kind of get into this tournament. I've got about an hour of daylight and a dream. Shoot 20 under with the course pars. Let's get it. For a lot of the off season, ever since I filmed with Gannon Burr in November, I've been putting with his P2Xs, which I really liked, medium depth beaded putter. And so I warmed that up, I warm up my throws, make sure everything's feeling good, and I actually had figured out a form cue for my forehand that helped me to not turf them anymore. That's a video that will be coming out pretty soon for you guys. I'm very nervous, honestly, going into this round because I know I have the capability to play good and solid disc golf, but I also know that I'm 992 rated. I'm going to be dropping tournaments that average out to about 1,000 rated from my rating, and I need to stay above 990 rated for when Pro Tour registration happens, because the Pro Tour has 3 tiers of registration. Tier 1 opens, I think, next Monday, the 21st, for the first like 5 or 6 events of the Pro Tour, and that's for people who are 1010 rated and up. The second tier opens a week later for 990 and up, and then 2 weeks after that, the third tier opens for 970 and up. I was signing up in the 970 plus tier last year, and it was hard. I didn't get into some of the earlier events, so I needed to make sure that I kept my rating above 990, and the best way to do that would have been to just not play. But if you've watched an earlier video about my commitments to myself, I committed to not let rating be a factor in whether or not I would play sanctioned events this year, because I need the experience. And so this is kind of going to be a deciding factor as to whether or not I'd be able to travel that much. The round gets started, and it's a pretty simple hyzer hole. Since we're the MPO crowd and there's only 4 of us, the whole division got to play together, which is a lot of fun. Shout out Brian if you're watching or listening. I take my chicane on hole 1 and just absolutely, well, not absolutely park it. I was about 15 feet away, which I was very nervous for, because the reason I want to play so many sanctioned events this year is I get so nervous and tight about putting in these kind of tournaments. So I step up to this putt, which is only about 15 feet away, and I end up making my putt. It wasn't the most confident putt in the world, but it wasn't bad. And I just told myself after that putt, okay, it's in, relax, loosen up, you got this. The next hole ended up early releasing it on a little bit of hyzer, and was about 45 feet away. I put my putt up, which I thought was actually a great putt, ends up missing the chains just a little left side, hyzering out a little early, but I missed my 12-foot comebacker, and I literally say to myself, out loud, mumbling under my breath, I'm like, oh, so I'm just gonna go back to doing what I always do, something like that. I guess I didn't say that specifically because I should remember that, but I was basically dang, okay, this is just who I am in tournaments, I guess. And there were a couple good learnings that I had from this event, but it didn't quite happen yet. I haven't written down my notes, and I'll go over them in a second, because I want to take something really positive from every single event and every single round and every single part of a round, because I'm trying to learn to love the experience and the journey rather than loving the results. Because if I can find a way to love the journey rather than only being worried about and caring about the results, then I can find the success that I want at the top levels of the sport, or at least that's a more likely way for me to get there. The next hole, similar thing, a little shorter, but a little more uphill. End up shorting my tomb again, 40 feet up the hill, left side again, maybe right side. I don't quite remember, but I had a 28-foot comeback putt up the hill, missed that one to the left side. And then I have another 25-footer on the other side, which I end up hitting dead center. So I went birdie, bogey, bogey at a course where through the front 9, I want to be somewhere between 5 and 8 under par. It's not a ridiculously difficult course if you can execute your shots. And at this point, kind of the thoughts that I had a lot last year were creeping back into my head about, okay, you're 1 over, just give up. It is what it is. Okay, you're not going to stay above 990, because I knew I needed to shoot somewhere between 970 rated and 1,000 rated. I wasn't quite sure exactly the numbers. The next hole, actually, I thought I threw a perfect shot, but it just stalled a little bit, and then I shanked a shot right, and then I shanked a shot right, and then finally I stepped up and birdied a hole. So I went birdie, bogey, bogey, par, 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 birdie on hole number 7, bringing me finally back to even. Then I started to catch a little bit of a rhythm. I wasn't trying to focus on, okay, I need to get back into this round, like I need to do stuff. I really just tried to focus in on myself, execute the next shots, not worry about the past, not try to like take all those emotions and thoughts that I had that really just didn't do me any good for a long time, and just get them out of my head and just throw the next shot. So I step up after I park the hole with the chicane, and I park the next hole with my MD1, and then something really interesting happened on hole 9. I knew I was back. I wasn't looking at scores necessarily, but I knew I was back a decent bit because Tegan was absolutely shredding, Lucas was playing well, and Brian was also playing well. I was like by far the bottom of the card at this point. We step up to hole 9, and basically everyone throws their shots to like 38 to 45 feet, all short. We just misread the wind or the hole played long. I don't exactly know what happened, but we're all in a line, but I'm the closest by like a foot, just right in front of Brian's disc. Get wrecked. Tegan steps up, misses the putt. Lucas steps up, misses the putt. And once Lucas misses the putt, I caught a thought that I had because I was trying to really introspect during this round and like think about my thinking and how I was addressing the rounds, so that I was trying to like be a third party observer almost, rather than like so crazy like focused and angry and just letting all my emotions kind of come in. I was trying to take stock of them and see what would be useful for me and what wouldn't, because the thought that came into my head when I saw Lucas miss that putt was, oh, thank God I don't need to make this putt. And this is a thought that I've had for a long time. I realized that for a while I have tried to not lose strokes rather than gain strokes. I've tried to not lose rather than win. I've tried to not shoot worse than this rather than play the best of my abilities. And I was able to catch that actually while Brian was putting. Brian putt, and I was able to like think through that in the moment. I'm going to actually read what I said here in a second, but Brian missed his putt as well, and I step up to mine outside the circle. Have not been putting great all day. Everything's been coming out clean. It's just not quite on line. And I found the extra level of focus, and I just put my putt dead center. And that is the thing from the round that I'm like taking that nugget and I'm like putting on the shelf. I'm like, we got to build this brick by brick, because to be honest, I don't have the killer instinct. I've said this before, but like I've been good at almost everything that I've done, but I've never been like top world class at anything, unless you can count when I was in kindergarten. I was 6 years old and I won a national championship for kata in karate. So like kind of generational athlete over here. But let me read what I wrote, because I think my thoughts in the moment, I literally just dictated them to my iPhone as I was walking from 9 to hole 10, like feeling a feeling that I haven't felt in disc golf for a while, where like I'm in control of what I just did and it was good and I can build off this momentum. I think that's like just one vote in trying to build myself to have a killer instinct and a drive to win rather than just to not lose. I'm not trying to not lose strokes. I'm trying to gain strokes and trying to win. So that was a helpful realization that I had. Ultimately, it comes down to that kind of killer instinct, competitiveness, but with like that little bit of an extra edge, where you watch the pro players in practice rounds and in whatever, they act very differently than they do in the tournament. And it's a different level, not only of like emotion, but mostly focus. And you're able to dial into it and get into that flow state. And I think I felt that for the next couple holes, because my confidence was just sky high. The wind started picking up after this hole, and I took my Ravine, which is the Meridian disc, and it was a 330-foot hole. Started getting a decent bit of left to right wind. Whipped the hyzer out wide to the right. I saw Lucas miss a putt, unfortunately. Step up to mine, which is literally a foot in front of his. And I'm like, before it's like, oh, great, now I don't have to lose strokes. But it's like, that's not my mentality anymore. All I'm focusing on is the chain that I'm trying to hit. And I smack it. Moving on to the next hole is 380 feet, and it's a forehand. Well, at least like that's the best play, because it's a pretty decent tailwind, and so getting a turnover, because you have to throw it out left, get it to finish right, not going to be easy. And because it's a tailwind, it's not going to be the easiest, because it's a little right to left as well, to throw something on a big hyzer, get under and around some trees. There's a lot of recipes for disaster, and so I don't know if I have the 380-foot forehand in me going up a hill, but I take my Gannon Cloudbreaker and I trust myself. Hey, I've worked on this cue, just hit my aim point. And I did it. It wasn't the best shot in the world. I was 23 feet short, 25 feet short, but I ended up stepping up to that putt, making it. No chains, but doesn't matter. No pictures on the scorecard, especially when I'm not filming a video. And that kind of 3-hole stretch, or I guess 5-hole stretch, it started with finally parking a hole, getting back to even, 1 under, 2 under, 3 under, 4 under. And I'd step out of that stretch 4 under par after 5 birdies in a row. And the wind starts to pick up. But that's like the part that I want to focus in on a little bit here, because a couple things that I wrote down after the round was just because I missed putts early or ever, like even if I started missing putts now, it doesn't mean that I have to resign myself to only putting well next round. This is a mentality that I had a lot last year where I'd like be missing putts. I'm like, well, I guess this round I'm just missing putts. It's like, no, I just missed that putt. Like I can still make putts. And luckily I've been practicing putting more, and my commitments to that have been working, hopefully, as you're seeing throughout like this video that you're watching right now, my round. But so often in tournaments, I would like resign the whole round to one feeling or one ability rather than being able to take that third person objective style view. That's how I was thinking about it. I don't have to wait till next round to putt well. This also applies to throwing. I can focus and figure it out during the round, and I feel like that's what happened. Get a little lower in my stance, really focus on exactly where my hit point's going to be with the disc, and start executing some good shots. I haven't talked about cashing at all at this event, and to make cash in pro disc golf, or MPO disc golf, I guess, you need to be in the top 40% of the division, which rounds up typically. So there's 4 people. They're not paying out 1 people, they pay out 2 people actually. So it's top 50% just because it rounds up. I've worked myself through these 5 birdies back to 2 back of Lucas. And so I'm trying to just continue this momentum. And the next hole is a pretty short hole, but we have a really big right to left wind. I do throw my chicane and try to leave it out wide, but I didn't quite trust it. I thought the wind would do more, I guess, and so I shorted it a bit. And then the headwind on the next putt just kind of got in my head a little bit, and I missed it. And this is where like that doubt would creep back in. But I step up to my tailwind putt. It's a little shaky, but I make the comebacker from about 15 feet and step up to a 740-foot par 4. I end up throwing the biggest drive of the group, flex on Lucas, literally. Because he's like, wow, that was so big. And I was like, yeah, get flexed on, boy. And it unfortunately didn't leave me with much. But because this 4-8 cube had been working, I took my chicane and put it underneath the tree branch, skipped just past the basket. And now the wind is picked up, so it pushed it to about 25 feet into a headwind. And I step up to this putt after just having missed a headwind putt, and I'm able to refine that focus somehow and put it into the center. Unfortunately, though, spoiler alert, this is my last birdie of the round. I still have 4 or 5 holes left. I throw some pretty decent forehands, one with my PD2 in a big right to left wind past the basket that's 350 feet away. I was like, what the heck is going on here? Can't make that putt. I'm really trying at this point to be like, okay, I have 5 holes left. Let's try to get 3 birdies. And I still think that's a mentality that I have to work out of my system a little bit, because I'm trying to get to a score at that point. I was 5 under, and I was looking, I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to be rated well enough or good enough, or just like I'm not cashing because I'm a couple back of Lucas and I'm trying to catch him. And I'm thinking about it in terms of score rather than just executing the best shot. And so the score kind of drifted into my head at this point, unfortunately, which happens to me towards the end of rounds. And so this is something that is good to take note of. I need to learn how to finish rounds better, which is why playing more flexes, C-tiers, small stuff, every round, just as long as I'm doing it the way that I did a lot of this round, I'll be building those building blocks of killer mentality, putting in tournaments, not worrying about just the score, thinking about and executing the next shot. I'm building those building blocks of being a good tournament disc golfer. And so there's not a crazy amount to say over the next few holes, except I think I miss one more, circle 1 putt. The wind really is picked up at this point, and so I end up shooting 5 down for the whole round. Lucas shoots 7, and Tegan shoots a scorching 11 under par. So first tournament of the year I end up not cashing at, which, to be honest with you, I thought I would care more. I literally don't care. The way I was able to find those nuggets during the round is what I'm going to be building off of. And I can kick myself for like, man, I really should have, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to take the positives from what I did really well and just like use that as building blocks so that next tournament I can go and hopefully remember that, but also build on it more, and maybe I'll regress in it in some ways. And it's going to be a push and a pull because this is a long-term process and journey. And to be honest with you, hopefully you can tell from this video, like I've started to learn to love the journey. This is the most fun I've had, or like the best feeling I've had playing a tournament. I came home and I wasn't stressed. Like I would take drives home seething or so stressed or like freaking out because I'd be so focused on maybe what other people thought of my tournament rounds, or so disappointed in myself. And a lot of that came from like I wasn't preparing. I wasn't practicing throwing or putting, and then I wouldn't do well. And I guess I don't know what I expected, but now focusing on the process rather than the result, I think is the way to go. For me moving forward, maybe this is helpful for you as well. And the good news out of all this is my round was 980 rated, which somehow was just enough to keep me at exactly 990 rated. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I flirted with not being able to get into tier 2 of registration for the Pro Tour events in Wave 1, which are the first 5 events, everything up to Kansas City Wide Open, which I'm trying to get into Kansas City Wide Open, Waco, and Austin. So I'm really happy about that and proud of the way that I played this tournament. Hopefully this gave you some motivation. I'm probably not going to recap most events like this, but this is the first tournament of the year, and there are a lot of good takeaways that came from it. Be on the lookout for that forehand video coming soon, and no. Are you serious, back foot? I thought I tested the pressure, and I guess I put a little more when I actually went to putt. No way. I know right now you think I'm at 19 under. However, my camera gave me a mulligan. 2 holes back on hole 16, when I threw that great drive and made about the 40-foot putt. I actually had already thrown my drive with an Emperor that I put in the bag that I thought was a little less overstable. I threw a bad shot with it and ended up coming up 70 short. So this is that putt that I missed. So this was really only for 19 under. Luckily, dropped this putt in, shoot 18. Jeez, come on. I shot 17 under instead of the 20. Overall, pretty solid. Not gonna lie, you're the best. Peace. Oh, subscribe and watch another video right there. I forgot to say that, but that's what a good YouTuber would do. So I'm gonna do it.